You're one of the most powerful telepathic minds on Earth, Omega-level telepath. Telekinesis to match. The kind of mutant that makes Professor X nervous. And somehow, everybody else still gets to decide what you do with it. This is Jean Grey, and by the end of this, you'll understand why being a god in a human body isn't the power fantasy it sounds like. It's a slow-motion disaster that starts before you're old enough to know your own name. You open your eyes for the first time in New York, 1956. You're 10 years old, playing outside with your best friend, Annie Richardson. Laughing, running, completely ordinary. Except for the thing sitting at the back of your skull you don't know about yet. Then Annie gets hit by a car. She's dying. And because your telepathy picks this exact moment to switch on, you don't just witness it. You get pulled inside her mind as it comes apart. You feel every neuron fire and fail. You feel the moment her consciousness stops. You're 10 years old and you just experienced death from the inside of someone else's skull. And you cannot turn it off. Every thought from every person in range floods through you at once, and you go catatonic on the grass while Annie dies 3 feet away. Your parents have no idea what to do, so they call Charles Xavier. Here's what you think is happening. A brilliant man is going to help you, teach you, set you free, and he does help. The way a warden helps by locking the cell doors so the dangerous thing doesn't get out. Xavier looks at your mind, at the raw scope of what you already are at 10 years old, and makes a decision without asking you. He builds psychic barriers deep inside your head, blocks that suppress your telepathy entirely, letting only your telekinesis develop until he decides you're ready. He didn't ask. You were a child. He made the call. To be fair to Xavier, and this is the last time we're being fair to Xavier, he wasn't wrong to be scared. An unblocked Jean Grey isn't a mutant. She's a force of nature in a cardigan. So he put up walls, told your parents you needed treatment, and quietly rewired what you were allowed to become. You grew up thinking your power was limited, spent years training twice as hard to develop half of what you actually had, convinced the gap between you and stronger telepaths was just discipline. It wasn't. It was your mentor sitting on the brake pedal of your entire identity because he thought he knew better than the girl living inside her own mind. He thought he knew best. And it didn't even work. The universe had already made other plans, and compared to what's coming, Xavier's psychic babysitting is practically a kindness. By the time you're a full X-Man, you're Jean Grey, field leader, emotional backbone of a team that desperately needs one, in love with Scott Summers, a man who literally cannot look at you without his visor on, the one person everyone trusts when everything goes wrong. The universe decides this is unacceptable. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity, the fire of creation itself, immortal, infinite, older than time, and it's been aware of you since the moment it felt a 10-year-old girl drag herself into a dying mind and almost not come back. It recognized something in you that day on the grass, something that should have been left alone. It wasn't. When the XMen shuttle takes a fatal solar flare re-entering Earth's atmosphere, you do what you always do. You put yourself between the danger and everyone else. You pilot manually while the radiation kills you by degrees. Your mind reaches out in agony. And the Phoenix answers, stay with this because it matters. The 616 cannon settled on something darker than a power-up. The Phoenix Force made a perfect copy of your body, slipped a fragment of your consciousness inside it, and left the real Jean Grey sealed in a healing cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, while a cosmic entity wearing your face joined the X-Men, fell in love with your boyfriend, and called itself the Phoenix. You were not there for your own origin story. The most important moment in Jean Grey's life happened to someone else, and the copy is good enough to love Scott, good enough to fight alongside your friends and mean it. But it's shaped like you, which means when it starts to crack, the crack looks exactly like yours, and someone is about to use that. Jason Wingard, Mastermind, a mutant illusionist working for the Hellfire Club, patient in exactly the way predators are patient. He doesn't attack the Phoenix directly. That's suicide. Instead, he starts small, psychic illusions layered so gradually that by the time anything feels wrong, she can tell which thoughts were always hers and which ones he built. He constructs a persona from the inside out, a woman who wants what the club wants. The Black Queen isn't a corruption force from outside, she's a costume stitched directly onto the soul. Think about that. You are one of the most powerful telepaths on the planet. You've reached into other minds and rewritten thoughts, and a man with a parlor trick just redecorated your entire consciousness while you stood in the room convinced everything was fine. When the illusion shatters, it doesn't come back gentle. The rage of realizing what was done to her from inside her own mind is exactly the detonation the Phoenix Force had no mechanism to contain. The Dark Phoenix doesn't choose to emerge. She's what happens when the locks come off. She leaves Earth. The Phoenix Force is starving after months of compression, so she flies to a star and consumes it. She doesn't register the Dabari solar system orbiting it. She doesn't register the 5 billion people on the planet below. The Phoenix Force doesn't process mass death the way you do. It registers the star, it eats, the star collapses. Dabari 4 dies. 5 billion people, gone while she was having a snack. And that's the moment the script flips. This has been a story about Jean Grey being hurt by things more powerful than her. Xavier's control, the Phoenix's possession, Wingard's manipulation, the victim in every chapter. But now she's the monster, and she doesn't even fully know it. The Shi'ar Empire, who watch a cosmic entity devour one of their star systems, decide Jean Grey must be destroyed. There's a trial, the Imperial Guard, a battle on the blue area of the moon that ends with the X-Men battered and Scott screaming into the dark. And the only thing that stops the Dark Phoenix is Jean Grey. Not the Phoenix, not the X-Men, not the Shi'ar Armada. The real Jean Grey, finding the part of her that's still hers, and making a choice. She finds a weapon, she looks at Scott, she doesn't hesitate, she ends it. The single most heroic act in X-Men history, a woman deciding to die so nothing wearing her face can hurt anyone else. It is also, to be completely clear, a temporary inconvenience for the universe. The Phoenix Force doesn't do permanent. Fire, ash, fire again. The real Jean Grey wakes up in her cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, healed, with no memory of anything the Phoenix did in her name. She comes back, falls in love again, builds something that looks like a life. She gets killed again. Resurrected, killed, resurrected. Sometimes a sentinel, sometimes the Phoenix pulling her back like it can't quit her. But the pattern never changes. Jean Grey dies and returns because she's too powerful to leave alone and too human to survive what that power costs. The Omega designation is supposed to mean limitless potential. Turns out it also means limitless ways to lose everything. One of the most powerful telepathic minds on Earth spent her childhood with a man's hands inside her head, deciding what she was allowed to be. She spent her adult life as a vessel for something that loved her the way a fire loves what it burns, rewritten from the inside by someone with a fraction of her ability. So completely she didn't know she was gone until she was already the villain, and every time she found the strength to end it, the universe just waited a few years and handed it all back. She never got to just be Jean Grey, always what Jean might become, always the disaster in the room everyone was pretending was a person, always one bad day away from being the reason a star goes dark. You are one of the most powerful telepathic minds on Earth, and the only things you never got to control was yourself.